I'm in Sebek, coming at you from Standing on the Square. We did part one on the mysteries of the female. Today we shall do part two. So let me make you aware. Part two will include now the downside of female energy, as well as there will be some racial issues discussed. So let's get started. Men and women. Let's start with arguments today. Sounds like a good topic. The argument is designed to come to a resolution. Therefore, both people must be listening, or definitely there would be no resolution in the argument. It would just be an argument of wasted energy. So, to the females, I say, understand this: is that when a man is into his emotion, it's as important to him as your emotion is to you. It's interesting that women can describe men, but they don't want men describing women. And we all have our flaws, and the sooner we recognize our flaws, the quicker and easier it is for us all to get along and balance a whole lot better. So if an individual is in an argument and the other person says something like, oh, never mind, or whatever you say, or go on about your business, do you realize what that is doing? That is taking that person's emotions and paying them with no value because you're only concerned about yours. And the greatest gift we give to the world is when we serve each other. So we must give the same respect to another person's emotion as our own. The reason the argument exists in the first place is because there's too much emotional buildup on one side or the other. And it needs to be released. You don't need to be holding on to that energy. And as mates, we need to engage our mates so that they can release that energy. Then we can move forward from that. So don't dismiss those things. If you consider yourself to be a smart woman, then recognize what a man represents and how he does things. And how he does things is completely different from how you do things. Does he think the way you think? No, he doesn't. We don't live in a world that's designed for that to happen in. So now we got this scenario to where the man is supposed to do this, the man is supposed to do that. Where in the hell did these definitions come from? You haven't given them any thought, and you're operating out of your culture because you're operating on European definitions that do not work for everyone. And we must realize that their definition of things is not the gospel. Trust me. But we like to accept it as the gospel, and if the person we're talking to doesn't, then that person has an issue. How shallow of you, how limited your own thinking has become to look at it from that point of view. Understand this. If you want a good or positive response, you must give out good or positive energy. You can't put a person down. You can't talk negative about a person and expect them to respond positively. So, through a woman's beauty, she will catch the eye of a man. Through her heart, she will catch the love of a man. So choose your words carefully and understand what you're saying, and quit trying to use definitions that you really don't know how to define the words that we are expressing, because they don't mean what we always think they mean. We just want to use them in a sentence, and that's not the correct way of learning. So we have to do a better job at this. We do. Everybody, males, females, we all have to do a better job at this. So we talk about the man can't communicate. Well, if you're not going to listen to his emotions, how's he to communicate? You want him to write your sticky note? Because you're not listening to his words, you're not respecting his emotion. You only considered about your energy. Well, his time and energy is just as valuable as yours because it's the complementary of them both which makes us successful in this world today. So, we got to make sure that we're balancing this thing on both sides. When Europeans first came to America and dominated this country, women did not have the right to vote. Women did not have the right to have a bank account. In some places, women did not have the right to even work. So, of course, it was the man's job because he took all those responsibilities away from her, which meant that instead of empowering her, he depowered her because of the recognition of what females actually are or the importance of them to us in this world today. I'm sure many of you watched the movie Jurassic Park with the dinosaurs. And the story behind Jurassic Park is this. The reason they thought it was going to work because they only created one species, or one gender, I should say, and that was female. So all the dinosaurs were female, so they figured they couldn't reproduce. But guess what? They found a way to reproduce anyway because you can't stop life. Now, a man could not have grown that child or baby inside of him, so it took the power of a woman to make life continue to exist. And not these idiots running around thinking that they're just dropping a sperm or a seed, so to speak. Because some of y'all seeds are pretty bad. So you got rotten seeds, and rotten seeds produce rotten trees. So let's be aware of these things in more detail than we have been in the past. Understanding who we are. African culture, the men went out to hunt every day, but they were not always successful. But when the female went to the garden, she always brought some food back. So she has been the provider when things have gone bad because they don't always go in our favor, so to speak. Some hunting expeditions are successful, some aren't. But her trolley through the garden was always successful, and that meant that the family always ate. So, not to put any extra responsibility on the females, but for them to stand up to the responsibilities that already exist for them and not complain about them, but to embrace them. Excuse me. Because what they're embracing is their own power. Now, who wouldn't want to embrace their own, embrace their own power? And the reason we do these bad habits is because we are learning the lessons from the wrong people or from the wrong perspective. And so we have lived in a world of confusion, a world of chaos, and wondering why. And we have ourselves to blame for it. If a female's on top of her game and she helps her spouse, mate, or significant other be on top of his game, what do you think the end result of that is? Nothing but greatness in itself from that point of view. So why aren't we focused on that? Why aren't we in tune with each other? That this is a complementary thing. This is not a man versus female thing or opposite sex versus an opposite sex thing. It's a complementary thing between a man and a woman being successful on their journey. So that when he's down, you lift him up. When you're down, he lifts you up. So, yes, on that note, let me take a short pause.